Well, awesome. Welcome to the Great Lakes Herb Fair Roundtable, Courtney.
Great. Thanks, Mason. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so this is Courtney Cochran, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about you and your work. What do you do as an herbalist?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mason.
Of course.
So again, I'm Courtney Cochran. I use they, them pronouns. And I'm a queer and non-binary herbalist that's based on occupied Anishinaabe and Lakota land in so-called Knife River, Minnesota. And I do many things in herbalism, but I'll just kind of talk about a few of the things that are really blooming right now and feel the most important. Um, One piece is that I grow my own herbs. We have a very small scale herb farm here on the 16 acres of boreal forest land that we live on. And with that, we have like a small product line that we sell both locally and some pieces online. Um, and then kind of my two really big passions in herbalism. One is like flower essence work and working with plant spirits. And so do a lot as a plant meditation guide and a plant spirit communicator and spend a lot of my time like researching and testing essences and writing about those and trying to expand the like especially the range of bioregional essences in Great Lakes region essences that folks have access to. And then my other hat that I could talk so much about and is really like one of the big reasons that I got into the more clinical side of herbalism is like what role do herbs have in trans healthcare and in
Hmm.
trans wellness. Um, I found a really kind of deep lack of that in my own herbal studies and herbal mentorship, and I've really spent a lot of my time diving into that and specifically creating both flower essence services and clinical services for transgender, gender nonconforming, non-binary, and two-spirit folks who are really turning to plants as as a piece of their own journey and wanting that support from plants. So that's a huge piece of my work is support for trans folks, especially like support around gender affirming care and gender affirming surgeries. Yeah, just a lot of different pieces there.
Beautiful. And yeah, that's one of the things I love about herbalism is you get to learn from your teachers, you get to see what's not being fulfilled. And then since you're so passionate about it, you're going to be one of the people spearheading this work that you're doing. Just out of my own curiosity, because we're just getting to know each other, who have been some of your herbal mentors?
Yeah, so I my biggest herbal mentor will actually be at Great Lakes Herb Fair as well. Gigi Staffney. She's based in Chautauqua, Wisconsin, and runs the Green Wisdom School out of Chautauqua. And studied with Gigi for years and found her really supportive. And she's like really helped push me into some of the clinical research around like trans folks accessing herbalism for their own wellness and been there to kind of gut check some of the things that there aren't studies on with me as well. And then I studied with Lupo Passero at Twin Star Herbal Center for my flower essence work and have taken Tammy Sweet's Anatomy and Physiology course online as well. So I think those are the folks who like are the really big pillars in my work. But then also want to just like give a shout out to some of the like up and coming trans herbalists who have
Yeah,
really
please.
like put that work out there and been creating some of the early clinical research. Emiliano Lemus and Violet Moon, who are in the Bay Area of California, are really like prolific and skilled clinical herbalists that I've been able to study with. Ember Peters in Canada, and then um, Iolette, who is really runs the Flower Top Clinic and is a really brilliant trans femme herbalist out of New York.
Nice. Well, you
Yeah.
mentioned some names I did know and some I didn't know, so it's going to be great to learn more about them and their
Yeah.
work. So
All
awesome.
brilliant people.
I love it. So Gigi's based in Wisconsin. That's great to know. Now that I live in
Yeah.
Wisconsin, I'll have to get to know her a little bit more. But awesome. Well, what are some of the classes you're going to be teaching at the Great Lakes Herb Fair?
Yeah, so I'll be teaching one class, and the class is called Queer Vibrations, Flower Essences, Plant Spirit, and Their Affinity for LGBTQIA and 2S plus Wellness and Liberation. So a really long class title, but really focused on like what is the role of plant energetics in queer and trans liberation? Like how are we actually using those soul healing remedies to like actually free our bodies and our souls from the impact of homophobia and transphobia and
Amen.
actually find like peace, happiness, euphoria, joy in our liberated selves. So yeah, I'm
Awesome.
very
Well, I
excited.
I could tell, and it's one of the things I really appreciate about the organizers of the Great Lakes Herb Fairs. They're very intentional about bringing diverse content and
Yeah,
specialties. So thank you for bringing that to the Great Lakes Herb Fair. Have you ever been before?
I have not. It's going to be my first time. I'm really excited. I've lived like within blocks of the shores of Lake Superior for 15 years, and I'm just really excited to like actually meet some of the folks who are creating the research in our bioregion, right? Like it's such a specific bioregion living along the Great Lakes, and I'm really excited to be able to be in community with other folks who are like at the center of some of this work and launching this.
It's a
Yeah,
great event. This will be my third year going. I'll get to
amazing.
kick it with Courtney. That'll be
Yeah.
awesome. Well, from what you know about the Great Lakes Herb Fair, what are you most excited for?
Yeah, I think one piece you kind of already mentioned, Mason, is like I often find that like herbalism spaces are really centered on like femme identity. And as a non-binary person, those spaces aren't always a place that like I want to bring my very like right, my very queer, very trans herb content to, and not sure how I'll be received in those spaces. And I just think the way Great Lakes Herb Fair is packaged and launched and all of the pieces of it, like I think it's going to be a really welcoming and diverse space. And I'm excited to see an herb space not centered on one specific like binary gender identity as well.
Amen to that. No,
Yeah.
you'll feel very welcome there, and the Midwest is just a very accepting, lovely place in general. I found, I'm coming from the Pacific Northwest, but I've
Oh yeah.
totally fallen in love with Appleton and just Michigan and all those places. So,
Yeah. Born and raised Midwest. So
oh, you know the drill then.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, why don't we kind of wrap it up with a couple of funsies questions? What do you love most about being an herbalist?
I love that question. I
I
think
thought of it
one
myself.
good. I'm so glad you didn't take it from someone else, man. Yeah, I think one of the things that I love the most about being an herbalist is like endless learning. Like I am so excited to meet all of the other teachers. I'm going to want to go to every single session I can cram in. Like I just think there's so much to learn. And so much we don't know about plants and about nature. And I've always just been so hungry to learn all of that. And I feel like the more I learn about plants, the more connected I feel to where I live, and the more connected I feel to nature. Um, I also feel like one piece that was super unexpected for me is like learning more about my own self and my own identity through connection with plants. Both as like a queer non-binary person, I feel like I actually like had conversations with plants that taught me things about myself, but also about my own ancestry. Like growing plants here and like meeting plants on my land that also are like sacred plants in my Celtic ancestry and being able to connect to things I never probably would have dug into without like the plants guiding me towards that.
Yeah, I was just on a Skyhouse Herbs YouTube channel. That's Ashley Ellenboss. She's also based in Minnesota, and she asked me what I found was a current trend in the herbal community, and my answer just popped in my head, and I was like, "Oh, people are getting more and more interested in ancestry," and
Yeah.
I absolutely vibe with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So. Well, it's been great getting to know you, Courtney. And I want to say the other day you submitted a couple of events to the HerbRally events
Yeah,
page. So that
thank you
was,
so much for posting those.
of course, yeah, always feel free to send them my way whenever you have something coming up. So it's been nice to get to know you via Zoom. Where can folks learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so if folks want to connect with me in any way, my business name is Alseth Acres, Alseth, Acres, and we're on Facebook and Instagram, and we have a website as well. Would love to connect with folks and have some cool offerings coming up, both centered on like transclinical herbalism as well as some different like plant meditation and plant spirit work too. So would love for folks to reach out on any of those platforms or come find me at the Great Lakes Herb Fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Courtney, for coming on the Great Lakes Herb Fair Roundtable. And we'll see you soon. All right.
All right. Thanks so much, Mason.